Back in the 1980s, muscle cars weren't really cool. They were just old. They had been around for 15, 18 years, and for the most part, their usefulness had come to an end. Carburetors had given way to fuel injection, and it seemed like every new car had standard air conditioning and power windows. In short, they were evolving, and yet at the same time, they were very analog. Which brings us here to this 1987 IROC Camaro, and it's glorious. Kinda. So remember when I said this IROC was glorious? And then I also said, kinda? This is the kinda. Now, I don't know if you can hear that. I mean, the rest of the world can. What that is one big ass rod knock, and well, let's just say that's not good. Oh, that's so not good. Oh! Don't brake, okay? Yeah, I don't think this is one of those problems that's gonna fix itself. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, car. I promise we'll bring you back to life. So before this thing absolutely blows up, we figured we'd take it for a little bit of a bridge test drive, so to speak. Take it out, and I'm gonna tell you a little bit about what the IROC Camaro meant to me. Now, when I was a kid, in the 1980s, in high school, if you had an IROC, you were the king. You were a rock star, right? Now, not if you had any IROC, but if you had like an 87 IROC like this, with the actual 350, with the 4-speed and not the little 305, you had something pretty serious. But look at this. Look at this. Look at the way this car has a presence to it. And it takes me back. What I love most about these cars is just how analog they are. I mean, this is just a donut sliding, burnout making muscle car. And it's great. Now, there were others back in the day, right? Obviously, you had the Fox body Mustangs, you had the Monte Carlo SSs, and obviously the Turbo Buicks from GM. And while those were all great, the Camaro, from a stylistic point of view, this thing was just rad. First off, let's talk about the cabin. I mean, big dude, right? 6'4", 245 pounds. Super comfortable. The driving position is fantastic. I'm laid back. Everything is where it should be. When I reach out, the HVAC controls are here. I've got a nice armrest. My power window buttons are here. The gauges in this car are just tremendous. Full leather interior is very, very rare in this car. And at 35 years young, it's shocking to see how good the interior actually is. There's no cracks in the leather. I've been singing this car's praises because, let's face it, it is kind of awesome. But man, does it need some work, right? For instance, like, I took some change out of my pocket and I put it into the ashtray right here. I didn't know there wasn't an ashtray, so I just dropped it right into the transmission tunnel. So that's probably not good. Then I went to change the mirrors, and I went to push it in, and like the mirror switch just fell into the door. All the other plastics in this thing have the rigidity of an uncooked ramen noodle. What's great is that this is IROC Rehab. This is the show where we're gonna take this car and turn it into something that's worth saving, right? New engine, new transmission, new plastic bits and bobs from plastic industry. We have a lot of stuff that's gonna bring this car back to the next level. Then we've got a full detail plan to see if we can salvage any of this original paint. The fact is, what you're seeing now, sure, I'm a little hard on the car. In short, we're gonna make it awesome again.
So would you believe that before we pulled this thing back into the garage, that we put an additional 30 or so miles on it filming? And that's with that crazy rod knock. Then we brought it back here to Hemmings headquarters to give it a Viking funeral by doing a few burnouts, and honestly, that sucker still wouldn't pop. I swear, these old 350s will only let go if it's on their own terms. It's crazy. No joke, I've got a good mind to drain the oil out of it, hold it at $7 grand, and see if we can launch a piston to the goddamn moon. Then it's a party. Now that we're back into the garage, it's time to rip into the old boy. But before we do that, I'm gonna introduce you to the team that's gonna make it happen, and then we're gonna go over some parts. On the Hemmings side, we've got Terry McGean and Douglas Glad, and then there's David Nevitzin and Glenn Sauer. As for me, I'm gonna hand them tools and sandwiches and keep track of everything. But first, I wanna get their opinions of the car.
The IROC to me brings me back to high school. It was the epitome of the 80s. You traded in your BMX bike, and this was the next step in progression.
These cars, most of the guys in this shop grew up with these cars. So remember them from doing burnouts, remember them from buying them, modifying them.
I cut my teeth working on these. I was 16 when they came out. Boy, everybody in high school wanted these.
If you had one, if you were that fortunate, people noticed. A guy who had a car that looked very much like this one stole my girlfriend when I was a high school senior.
Now that we've met the team, let's meet the car starring in this 6-episode series.
We crawled around as much as we could when we were trying to buy the car, and it looked good. Getting it on the lift and seeing how good it is was really a relief. So I think this is, knock wood, gonna go pretty well when we dive in.
The best part about the car is the 5-speed conversion. I just enjoy having the manual transmission, and with the suspension and the thought of being able to do autocrosses on weekends, it'll make it a fun project and still be a daily driver.
You know, the 350 we're putting in here is the same size as the engine that came in this car, but we're using a newer fuel injection system. It's programmable. It's a lot quicker than the old TPI system that was in here. We've got aluminum heads on here that are based on Vortec heads. Edelbrock has tuned those up even beyond Vortec heads. So we're gonna be making more power than the 350 this car came with, and we're gonna be able to tune on it a little bit, so that's gonna be good.
If you own one of these cars and you just got a little bit of money, wheels and tires first makes a huge difference.
For a Northeast car, this is amazing. I can't wait to tear this apart because I know it's going to come apart. It's in excellent shape.
So I'm here with Jonathan Welly of Blacktop Yacht Club. Now, some of you might know Jonathan because he designed all the apparel for our Road to Improvement series. Here it is. Give me your first thought on this thing.
Well, my first thought is I love these cars.
Okay.
And the reason being, and it's because it's American audacity at its finest.
It's gonna be a fun car when it's done.
Definitely. I wish it had even more graphics on it. I wish it wasn't black. I wish it was one of those crazy 80s teal colors or something like that. Then it would really be over the top.
Bill's not over yet. Never know. When you think of automobiles, right, and when you think of a design, where does your brain go, and kind of how does that work? Because when I look at design, I don't know. I'm just not a three-dimensional guy.
A lot of my inspiration comes from the past, the 50s, the 60s, the heyday of Hollywood, James Dean. So that's really where I get a lot of my ideas from.
Okay, so something like this, for instance. I'm always amazed that something like this was actually created, that it was built with these massive chrome bumpers and the massive fins in the back and all the chrome.
You know, a lot of the cars that I drive are from the 60s, and they are wider, but they're a lot lower than the modern cars, which are higher.
Yep.
So it's funny, it's just that the dimensions have changed, but they're still just as big.
Where do you want to see design go in the future?
I would like to see people dress up a little more. In fact, guys spend so much money on their cars. I wish they would spend a little more on themselves. You know, taking a little more time on what they look like. They could be just as cool as their cars. Why does it have to be one or the other? Why can't it be both?
So because part of the plan for this car is to be an occasional track day unit, we want to just go through the whole suspension. But we wanted to keep it kind of simple to bolt on stuff. So we're working with Summit Racing, and what we've got here is a bunch of stuff from BMR and QA1. We got tubular control arms for the front. We've got new coils all around. We got Coney yellows front and rear. We even got a new torque arm from BMR that's tubular, that's going to allow us to adjust the pinion angle if we need to once we lower the car. We've got a new panhard bar, new tubular rear control arms, and big fat sway bars from QA1. So everything here is a bolt-on, but it's really going to tighten this car up and make it great on the track. When it comes to the exhaust, that car's got old aftermarket stuff on it, so we're just going to go stem to stern with new things. We've got a whole system from Summit Racing here, starting with Summit's own headers that have a nice shiny coating on them. Those are going to feed into a new Y-pipe here. That's a high flow design from Doug's Headers. That'll go into a brand new catalytic converter we got from Summit, and then a catback from Hooker, also from Summit, that has a 3-inch main pipe, which will really help flow, and then into the muffler, and then out into these quad tips. So everything should fit up nice and tight to the floor pan, because the car is going to be kind of low. Should sound good, and should help the engine breathe real well. So the big deal on this project for us is the 5-speed manual swap. This car has a 700R automatic, which is the only thing you could get with a 350 from GM back in the day. So we're going to create the car everybody wanted then, the stick behind the 350. We're working with American Powertrain to do just that. The centerpiece is this TKX Tremec 5-speed. This is a new design that has a smaller case that makes it easier to swap in older cars. And then the guts are improved too, so you can shift this thing at 7,000 RPM. The kit comes with this aluminum bell housing that's a replica of a GM design, so that should fit right up there nicely. And it comes with a center force clutch, and American Powertrain even provided the pedal set, which you can also get from Classic Industries. This is just a GM style clutch and brake set, which we're going to fit in there, and then we'll have to make the hole for the clutch linkage. That shouldn't be a big deal. Classic Industries even makes the console plate for a 5-speed manual car. American Powertrain provided a handle and even one of their shift knobs, but we got the Classic Industries replica shift knob in case we want to go with the real factory look. And then to actuate this clutch, we're going to have a hydraulic setup. It's going to be similar to what GM used. This master cylinder is from American Powertrain. It's part of their Hydromax setup. It's designed very similarly to the GM setup, but the real difference is in this hydraulic throwout bearing. This is going to slide right on here on the input of the trans. There's a pin that keeps it centered, and then this is the throwout bearing and the hydraulic actuation for the clutch. So that's going to make the swap easier. So this is all going to fit in there. It's made for this car, and it should be real slick. So we're also going to do some cosmetic refurb on this car. It's a 3rd gen, it's 30-something years old. There's a lot of little broken and worn out stuff. The good news is Classic Industries makes a surprising amount of stuff for 3rd gens these days. So we got brand new taillights, we got new parking lights because those are all hazed out on this car. Got a new parking brake handle because that's all kind of worn out. We got a new rearview mirror because this car doesn't have one for some reason. You've got a set of brand new hood xylophones and a brand new leather wrapped wheel, just like the Stalker. Classic Industries got a lot of little stuff that always broke on these cars, like the power lock switches, which on this car both pressed into the doors when we tried to use them. We got some other small stuff too. One of the things we're going to be changing is the engine on this car, which we'll get to in a minute. Because we're going to have a brand new engine, we wanted to get a fresh radiator. We went to US Radiator. These guys still make brass copper radiators, real high quality. They made us a nice heavy duty unit. You may notice it's got the automatic transmission cooler built into it. I ordered it that way because we thought we were going to be doing some stuff with the 700R4 before going to the 5-speed. Plans changed, so we're just going to be going right to the 5-speed. Doesn't matter, we'll keep that plugged. This is designed to slide right into the IROC, so it should work real well. It's heavy duty, so we should be able to keep it cool during track days. That new motor we're using is not going to retain the TPI injection system that the car came with. Because of that, the upper radiator hose and the thermostat housing is different. We got the right hoses, we figured out which ones to use. We're using the 3rd gen 4-barrel upper hose. So to go with the new engine, we got a new thermostat housing. It's just a regular small block Chevy unit because the TPI has a kind of a different one. We got this from Mr. Gasket, goes with our new upper radiator hoses, and that should make the radiator and the new engine and everything work together just fine. Let's go take a look at that motor. So we were pretty excited when we found an actual IROC 350. It came from the factory with the big motor. And then we blew it up. Fortunately, Edelbrock stepped up with one of their brand new crate engines. This is also a 350, but this is rated at 380 horsepower and 401 pound-feet of torque. Comes with Edelbrock's ProFlow fuel injection. That's going to beat the 225 and 330 torque that this engine came with from the factory. This has aluminum heads on it. That's a nice upgrade. These are the Edelbrock E-Tech heads. They're based on a Vortec design with improvements from there. And the fuel injection comes with its own harness and its own controller, so we can set that up. The engine's already been run on the dyno, so it's already programmed. It's a traditional small block, so it should bolt right in where the stock 350 is now.
Now that we've identified some of the problems with our tired old IROC, it's time to rip it apart and start the rebuild. And we're going to do that on the next episode of IROC Rehab.